and the Research Institute to fruition. Padsa, a word of Tata, came under the spell of Gopal Krishna Gokhale. You know this Gokhale, we know about this Gokhale who made a historic statement about Bengal, but we need to worry about that in present day's context. But moved on to work for the establishment of the Institute, and he toured the world between 1896 and 1898 to learn from the Western experience. And if you read this Sands of Time from Tata Archives, I had you ride in tram cars, he refused to take degrees in spite of a prodigious memory. He had independent spirit and he was vegetarian though a past. Again I am telling you, I am no historian, but was fascinated by an essay authored by Kim Sevali in the History of Education, published in 1985. It entitles Tata and the University Reform in India. Sevali details the efforts of Padsa to promote the Tata scheme in the face of the government reservation. The low point in the struggle reached when Padsa publicly proclaimed that new Viceroy Curzon was, he said, in sympathy with the scheme when he made the proposal of establishment of this institution. This drew a blunt response from the then Home Secretary, and who said in quote, "This is from quoting Lord Curzon's names or views." Almost the very first issue of that Curzon faced when he landed in Bombay as new Viceroy in December was this proposal of Tata, and in real sense, nevertheless, Curzon was the midwife of India's emergence of the world scene. And what Curzon set in motion was decades later to find the consummation at the hands of the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. You can find, if you actually read Lord Curzon's overtures, there will be a parallel between Curzon and Jawaharlal Nehru in many aspects in terms of institution building. And a quotation from Curzon used by Durgadas very efficiently highlights an imperial ambition. India is the pivot of empire, by which I mean the outside, that outside British Isles, we could, I believe, lose any portion of the dominions of the Queen and yet survive as an empire. While if we lost India, I maintain that our sun would sink to its setting. So by that time, there were reverberations. They knew that British Raj is sinking, because this is post-1857. Already the confidence is shaken. And the university system had expanded, although not to the desired extent today. When we started this India, I told you, from the 5 at the beginning of the 20th century to 17 on the eve of independence. And several research institutions, including those for agriculture, had also come up. And during this period, freedom movement that had gathered steam was a source of inspiration to scientists to pursue original research despite the regressive colonial ambience. And the first Prime Minister of independent India, Nehru, who, though a not laboratory scientist, had a broader vision of science, its rational methods, and applications for the benefit of people. And you must read Discovery of India, where he wrote during his imprisonment, "Who can ignore science today? The future belongs to science and to those who make friendship with science." India's friendship with science is in no small measure due to Nehru, since he was convinced that science and science alone could lead poverty-stricken India into prosperity. He emphasized the importance of the scientific method of temper, as he called it, insisting that it should permeate all sections of society. And if we look at the history during late 1930s, just before the Second World War, Homi J. Bhabha, who had done outstanding research on cosmic rays in Copenhagen and Cambridge, was in India for a short recess at the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. World War II, which broke out soon after, prevented his return to England. And that started the institution Bhabha Atomic Research Center and TIFR. Bhabha set up a cosmic research unit initially at IACS and then the TIFR at Bombay in 1945. 3 years before this, the CSIR had been set up with Shantisharu Bhatnagar as the first director. Those days, Director General was not known. He was the first director of the entire CSIR system. Subsequently, it is called the name of Director General. When Nehru took over as India's first Prime Minister in 1947, Bhabha and Bhatnagar played pivotal roles in strengthening country's scientific and technological base. Bhabha thought of big science. Those days, in the realms of Bhabha, the nuclear physics and energy, high energy physics. And Bhatnagar conceived of science in a big way through a chain of national laboratories. Both received an unstinted support from Jawaharlal Nehru. In perspective, it is evident that Indian scientific pioneers, Nehru and other leaders, laid a viable scientific foundation well before independence for multi-level growth of science and technology in independent India. I will actually cut short because in the interest of time, I will now tell you more recently, National Knowledge Commission was set up under the tutelage of Sam Pitroda. And Pitroda has made the following recommendation of higher education. Create more universities, approximately 2,000 universities in India by 2020. We are getting close. New regulatory body oversee UGC, AICT, Medical Council of India, Bar Council and so on and so forth. All of them put them under a supervisory mechanism like Supreme Court. Increase public spending from 1.5% of GDP to 6%. Higher education, integrate with education sector. And build 50 national universities. How do you bring excellence? Reform existing universities, promote enhanced quality, student choices, teacher evaluation. Salary differentials. No single salary should be given. It should be based on the performance. That's the recommendation and the responsibilities you have to take for building up great institutions. This is exactly along the lines what Harvard and Stanford have done. Ensure access for all deserving students. Need blind admission. Abandon national scholarship scheme for the needies, for meritorious. Affirmative action, reservation and use of deprivation index. And action, reforms within existing system, changes in government policies and amendment of new statutes of legislation. But creating, there are many challenges in the creation of world-class institutions. Enabling the role of government, organizational imperatives, role of academic leadership, academic and infrastructural abilities that need to identify and foster talent, governing mechanism, funding, and Indian experience. All of these have to be integrated. And you must integrate public and private for higher education, and public funding has to be ensured for research. 1857, as I told you, the major universities of India started. Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, presidencies. Training of graduates for government service. And those days, like Calcutta University was only a degree granting institution. It is only Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee converted it into a true university. In 1876, we have our own Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar and Father Lapo established Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science. And 1913, C.V. Raman joined through the efforts of Ashutosh Mukherjee, a disciple of Mahendralal Sarkar, and it culminated in the historic landmark of this country, first Nobel Prize in Physical Sciences from Asia and India, from India, by none other than C.V. Raman in 1928 for the famous Raman effect. 1896, J. Tata Endowment, he gave 30 lakhs of rupees, personal donation, request to 5,000 pounds per year from British Raj, and Karzan and the Tata scheme 1900, it was turned down by the comment appears to have no relation either to charity or to suffering or to the Queen or to the Queen or to 300 billion of Indians. So that's the way. You have to face adversity. If you have to take challenge, adversity and criticism you have to face. And that's nothing wrong, because people are always given wrong information and misconceived. But there will be quest of the truth if you undertake an honest path. And I think this is a great article one must read in the Journal of Historical Research. And 1909 we know the vesting order of establishing IACS. So there are subsequently IIM and IITs came, these came with foreign donations. And then we already know it's a brand equity. And internationally there is an IIT review, Indian Institute of Science we already talked about. And now you have more recently IIACR in Pune, Kolkata and various other places. And undergraduate science education in research ambience. That's the goal that has been successfully implemented in the 1600s by none other than Harvard in Harvard University and subsequently at Stanford University in the West Coast. So they were in the form originally a college. So undergraduate teaching, undergraduate and postgraduate teaching, and then affiliation teaching and research, postgraduate teaching and research, and establishment of the national laboratories, and deemed universities degree granting device, and we already know various types of institutions like Atomic Energy Department, Department of Space, Defense Research Organization, etc. So we can take up different types of model. We have good models which are available from Harvard, MIT, Stanford. These are private institutions or the state-supported institution like UC, California, Berkeley, Cambridge or Oxford. You can see the evaluation of faculty and student scholarship, which is the basis of the kind of system, and compare the Indian models in Calcutta, Madras, Delhi, Varanasi, BHU and Allahabad. And pre-independence, when it was primarily teaching, post-independence, we have Sargam research, but from 70s, there is also decay of some level of research. But whatever happens, specialist institutions versus the broad-based institutions, we have to figure out each one will have niche or small or large to exist. So you have to create an ambience for governance, institution building, consolidation, expansion and modernization. Faculty and student performance must be evaluated, and you must take the example of carrot and stick. Somebody who does good job gets the carrot, somebody who doesn't get the stick, and that's the principle which has actually made the United States such a great country in terms of the high education, science education and institution building. You know the tenureship that has to come. And research facilities, funding and development corpus. If you don't have funding, unstinted corpus, that institution has no future. Promoting scholarship, you have to have academic debate, participatory governance, and interdisciplinary dialogue. This crosstalk is important so that everybody understands what we are talking about. Students have to be trained, degrees have to be awarded, and you have to recognize alumni. Performance of the alumni are very important for an institution. Research papers published, its impact has to be circulated. Intellectual property has to be protected through patents, technology transfer, licensing, royalty income. That's the way institute works. If there is an inventor inside you, that person has to be recognized with exceptional funding, or this mechanism where self-income which is provided, that has to be encouraged. Magnitude of the corpus has to be clear. So, role of private philanthropy and public-private partnership is important. And we know that in no small measure that C.V. Raman did not have Department of Science and Technology those days, no CSIR, and when he wanted funding, it is none other than G.D. Birla who provided support to him, whatever little it is. But that was pivotal for building up his Raman spectrograph, which eventually culminated in the Nobel Prize analysis of the world. So we have crossed a lot of path, This is the institution some years ago, more recently, and this is the original map which you can get from Calcutta Corporation. I found out this is the map which is there. This is the entire map of the institution, because some time ago I was talking with CPWD people to build a format of this institution, and this is the other one. Tata's request in 1899 for £5,000 per year was turned down, and you can see this is the sprawling campus of Indian Institute of Science. This is the Victorian age building which started in 1909, 375 acres. Today you say IASC is benefited because of the right choices that was made, and that was spearheaded by none other than Swami Vivekananda. But Swami Vivekananda was not given this opportunity, I regret to say, which his state of Bengal deserved fully. And this is because of that brainchild we see this great institution. And Mysore Maharaja was the greatest disciple of Swami Vivekananda, who donated this land of 375 acres. Unfortunately, we don't have a culture of philanthropy. So, research and higher education, there are Indian challenges are there, integration of science, engineering and medicine. And